The Pro Circuit Darkstar Cup is fully underway, and while for the first day we did not see too many surprises regarding the meta and the comps the players were playing, there were a few exceptions that made it all more interesting. My name is Boris, and today I'll be jumping in the game with HoroX from Game 5 of Day 1, and I noticed him playing a very interesting board, so let's see how he managed to arrive to it and what was his ending placement. We are starting out here with the Briar and the Fizz as well, holding on to the Fizz and the Veigar. A little interesting, some players at this point might have gambled with this Briar singly fielding it for a potential to make 10 gold, but we did not miss out on that. You can see there's a player with Ezreal exactly doing that. This Fizz unit is something that you may be playing around as an item carrier, but does not exactly transition that well into certain boards. Like, it would transition into AP boards with something like a Nashers and the Jewel Gauntlet, but a little hard to achieve. However, we have managed to pick up the Primordians, definitely an econ start we may be considering and could lead us pretty much anywhere depending on our item slams. Speaking of which, we would at the moment have something like a Last Whisper, Striker's Flail or a Nashor's Tooth. Not particularly too excited about making any of those. Last Whisper, if you were to be playing into our Corki and Ribbons, could be some form of a direction if you wanted to. Buried Treasures would be an augment that we wanted to take for tempo, but you would be gambling on this Primordian to be printing us resources. Hard commit could give us a certain direction, but otherwise the augment is a little undervalued in itself. Have to see, since we want to be establishing a direction, it is something that we may be considering, or we simply could be relying on this econ from the Primordian for the Buried Treasures to take us away. Going long, simply a weaker combat augment that you may not be considering as much. Deadly Crap, something to be playing into your ASOLs, your Karmas, definitely can be utilizing, but you need that early game tempo, which we do not have. Therefore, you can see he's defaulting this hard commit as an option right now for the simply establishing his direction. Birthday Present, again, consider one of the weaker econ augments, and you have to be playing for tempo. We do not really have that much support, and our slam would heavily incline us either from AP or AD committing right away, but I assume Nashor's Tooth would be the most default one we could be taking. Now, Exalted Adventure could definitely provide us with a strong direction. Also, could perhaps get us out of the way of the other so contested units, your Ramesses, your Tahm Kenches in the current meta, as well as new news, obviously. And our Exalted Adventure is Gragas, Gnar, and a Jinx. Immediately sells this Gnar, even though we had the Gnar 2 pair in the shop. And we had also the Jinx right here. And what I assume he might be considering from this opener is, yeah, we can be playing some form of a Primordian, pair that together with Jinx and toss in that Gragas 3. Definitely a board we could be considering from here. Going to be going for that Lost Streak right now and opting to not invest our gold to be holding onto this Briar right here. Definitely valuing how much we need a gold, since we are playing in an augment that does not provide us with that much until we make it to the cash out. We definitely want to have some form of a gold in order to even arrive there. And this was also nicely played together with our Last Whisper Slam. Now, regarding this Primordian board, the Jinx has started to see a lot more play in it as a even sometimes primary carry. I believe Title had a game where he was essentially primary carrying his Jinx, then duo carry Belveth and Akali as a potential options. There is also the Jinx, Akali, and Jax board going around. I have the cheat sheet in the works for that. However, has not seen that much play at the moment. The board became a little more popular towards the pretty much closer to the start of the TPC, and players are not fully sold on it yet. Simply, if the Belveth got touched up a little bit more, then perhaps it's going to be a lot more prominent, as well as it requires heavy item investment, and at that point, since the lobby tempo is so high, you also want that econ, and therefore playing into this Primordian board at the moment seems to be a little bit of a stronger play. But do not fret, the cheat sheet will come as soon as I'm able to find a game and the exact reasons why the board is able to succeed. For our god selection, we are playing in a Yasuo and an Echo game. If we are sacking, Divine Intervention is something that can provide us with the potential to spike the board even further. Otherwise, Cosmic Hex is quite neat. Since we have this Gragas, we're going to be keeping him around forever. And we also have this Rexa. We are fine to be stacking up the HP. These are just going to be staying on our board for quite a while. Therefore, I would imagine that we are going to be most likely leaning towards this Cosmic Hex here as an option. He seems to agree. And for our component, probably a glove is something that we may be he opts to go with the Sunfire. Seems to want to evaluate exactly the slams necessary for that stage 3 as a potential to be spiking our board and picking up the rounds there, as that's definitely something we want to be doing with the 2 cost reroll. Slotting in the Gragas right away. We are on the... he's opting to keep the Jinx for a potential to kill some units. Since we are on a loss streak, we would have been fine to be also slotting in this Gragas. Now, we would probably have sacrificing at least a 1 or 2 or even a little bit more HP that way, since we wouldn't be killing, but we did not kill this here and anything here either. Simply a fundamentally a little more sound play. Able to natural our Gragas too, which is quite neat for ourselves. 30 gold here, not the richest, but should be fine. Should be making about, hopefully able to make 50 by the end of the PvE round. Otherwise, just trying to hope that we are not exactly in a position to outsuck some of these players, and unfortunately we queue into Raikou Mastery, who's full open hedge fund, most likely playing into that Fast 9 board, reminiscent of how players are playing our Yordles or whatever, full open. And I believe we are playing in a Prismatic party. I did not exactly catch the encounter at the start, so definitely in a Prismatic party. This is the Apex strat you might see quite a lot, which is simply taking the hedge fund and full opening a loss streak, looking for potential even double econ, getting to level 9 on like 4-1, 4-2 and spiking their board, picking up all the 5 costs right away and playing for that win out from there. Our Gragas situation is very nice in that department. However, I have not hit our Primordials that much in that front, still on the Briar one, but 5 Rek'Sais and the Belvet pair is going to suffice. Hopefully able to finish these and then find a Jinx too, and definitely have a prominent board for our stage 3. Opting to not go with that Sunfire Slam, but instead picking the Giant Slayer and the Stone Plate. Stone Plate very prominent into this Primordial board, since you really have 2 tanks until you make it at least to that Rast. Therefore, just getting your resistances, particularly in the Brawlers who already have a lot of inherent HP, and we're getting that extra HP buff, is going to be the best value we can get. For our next augment selection, it looks like most likely the Prismatic party. Therefore, Sword Overflow is something that definitely can make use of. Our Jinx is amazing at holding the Dead Blade. Our Belvet can utilize the Dead Blade quite well. Bronze for Life is not going to have that much value for us right now. Only if you make it to something like a Kindred, pair that with the Novus. It's going to be quite tough and we're not going to get the value where we want it. Radiant Rascal Gloves though, since we are rerolling so many units, has the potential for us to spike the board right now, and we definitely could have a holder. Another thing we have to vary that one of the cash outs I believe is also offering TGs, therefore could be some value lost there, but still getting the itemized unit here, since we're rolling for so many, could be quite of a value, but he seems to default to Sword Overflow instead. Now Prismatic Ticket is something we could consider. Again, this would be pretty much settling for us to be playing for a 4th kind of play. Since we have these duplicators coming in right now, the lobby with these Prismatic Augments is going to be extremely high cap, and this would simply allow us to hit early, preserve HP hopefully as much as we can from this kind of a spot, and then be able to bleed out to something like a 4th. So this is a big decision to be making here between these 2 augments, and let's see what he leans with. I am considering the Sword Overflow in a way that it does offer you the potential for the 3-item slam right now on Jinx, but instead we find wise spending after opting to reroll and default that Prismatic Ticket, and now we are going to be definitely getting our rolls in, able to find that Jinx 2 and Belvet 2 and Briar 2, so hopefully this is going to be strong enough for this stage, going up against a... This is Maokai with a Mogul's Mail, and thankfully this Lissandra is more of a fully AD build, so we're able to definitely pick up this fight, playing into most likely some form of a Xayah board right there. Regarding Xayah, she has seen the largest win share on the day 1 across all regions. Now the reason for that is since the AP Shepherds and AP Wexcom seem to be divided into these statistics. However, players have found that the Xayah board has high cap with your Blitz 2, with your Jin 2 being extremely strong carry, and the biggest revelation, which also applies to the Jinx as well, why she is so successful, is simply not making that Rage Blade. You make the red buff, that's going to give you all the attack speed you need, even more upfront attack speed than the Rage Blade until it gets to its scaling, and that is going to be enough as much as you need. Then you're able to make those Krakens, those Dead Blades for her. For our next offering, we have the Cryogenic Hex right there. We already have 1 tank Hex. Since we are going to a Gobble tank setup, it would not be that bad, but I believe we want more gold, especially now that we have also taken wise spending. We're going to be utilizing these rerolls to hopefully hit quite aggressively. Therefore, Skull Party is just going to be a little bit more gold and quite neat there, and able to pick up another bow for our Jinx. My only worry with playing this 2-cost reroll with device spending is that we might outlevel ourselves. The path from level 6 to level 7 is not that large, and hopefully you're able to hit there. And all same goes for our 1-cost, particularly, right, since we're playing these Primordians. It could be in a situation where we're simply not able to secure them. We have this Akali pair in our shop, and we also opted to hold on, but are we going to hold on to it? We're also holding on to these Misfortunes as a potential next in as well, so holding out quite a few outs. I'm very interested to see how he's going to be approaching playing this board as we progress. Definitely going to be hard for us to hit these 1-cost with device spending now, given the situation we're in, even though we have 6 copies of Rek'Sai. Now thankfully one more comes in. Also holding on to the Urgot, so perhaps we are considering some form of 4 brawler variation at this point. Going to be interested to see how he fixes this out. I think at this point we have to be giving up on the Briar itself, and another part that hasn't really worked out to plan. Since we did not have a 3-item carry, our frontline was also lacking a little bit, and these players, we can see we have the Trade Trees coming in, Ladder Slayer here on a 100 streak, 10 win with a lot of items in their front from these prismatic augments. Simply have too much power onto their boards, and this is not exactly the spot we wanted to be in, since we took an augment that incentivizes you to also be a little bit aggressive with your gold spending. We simply were not able to capitalize it, and we dropped quite low for a 2-cost reroll at this point. Now we do get a little duplicator right there, and we are making that red buff. Now we have a QSSS that we can be slamming. Now that our Psionic is also target lock optics, something you can utilize for that Belvet here until then. And how far are we from cashing out at the moment? We simply need a couple of more copies of either Jinx or Gragas in order to be cashing it out. Holding on to this Urgot on bench, and our last option right here. Since we have taken Econ so much, I believe we definitely need some items, and we also again lost a fight due to the lack of power in our units. Therefore Earths seems quite appealing. I'm not sure what we can do with the spatula. Could making like a challenger emblem if we find another bow, or a rogue emblem, but that's quite of a far ways to go. Hold the line wouldn't be that much value. We do not have that many frontline units to be capitalizing with, and invested would simply doom us in our Econ situation, I believe. Now he is going to be going with it, so perhaps he simply values that he needs so much gold in order to hit. Hopefully the Exalted Adventure is going to provide a necessary amount of items for ourselves. Now, tiny but deadly option for your melee comps. We like attack speed in our combat. We have the Challenger. We have made that red buff. Therefore, probably wouldn't be able to gain that much value out of it. And yeah, Earth's grab bag, I believe, is simply that the value in the spatula wouldn't most likely go to a waste. We do not have a reforger to remake it into a pan either, which we'd actually need for the Challenger and that rogue emblem. Therefore, yeah, I guess the invested does seem the more appealing option, allowing us to spike immediately and hopefully push a level, secure some kind of a placement from there. Now, Retribution would be an item augment that we could consider, and even though we have precision gain from the Akali, still it's fine to be stacking up a little bit crit, but it was perhaps rumored that it was a little bit some form of way of bug and not gaining the precision. Anyhow, it would be a couple of items, but we do not have the best kind of justice holders either. Jinx kind of justice and Velvet kind of justice are not performing just that well. So we have found we are also one Velvet way, but we got bench lock, so we have to use one of our dupes here. Finding the Gragas, finding the Jinx tree, so now we have Spike, and we do get that Radiant TG right there. Would probably go on the Urgot or Master Yi right now. Did not use the bench to check it out. Do get an artifact, wanting to complete 3 items onto this Gragas right here. So we're rocking this for a Brawler and probably going to be for Marauder version right now. Could have just given up on the onto the Briar by now. And especially with the invested pick, we do not want that much that much gold influx still. Going to be aggressively continue using our rerolls here, finding that Kindred, finding that pair, and finding also the Tom Kench pair, and finding that Yi2 right there. Yi holding that Radiant TG now obviously is going to be a little bit better. And still not opting to go for... now we have dropped the Briar, right? We have dropped the Briar for the favor of Kindred, getting the 3 challenger. And I guess now our hope would be finding that Fiora in order to heal up ourselves a little bit and hopefully secure placements. And for ourselves right now, the acceleration of Hex wouldn't be that bad of an option to us further reduce our power. But we can see already he has clicked on the cash flow to just simply gain more gold. Maybe able to, since we are in solo of a gold situation and we have to use gold to level, we need a lot of gold into this kind of a spot. Now we have given up on the invested value, we have fully utilized it in order to hit our board and stabilize as soon as we can. So perhaps his reasoning behind the invested pick was that I need to spike immediately now. Therefore, picking up this extra form of gold simply allows me to spike and secure some form of placements. For our open component, just going with a sword is going to be fine. Can either transition the Giant Slayer onto the Belveth or utilize this for some something like a DB onto the Jinx, or just make another Giant Slayer or whatever for the Belveth as our next prio. And yeah, I guess that's the placement securing play that was to be made. Alright, we can also do this, right? These are very good Yi items, especially if we're able to get an Eon. This Yi is going to be able to hold down the line quite a bit. And let's see how this Jinx now fares against some of the meta comps. Players have been quite hot on her, and well, now not the highest of the damage since our Belveth rolled insane of a TG, but putting out there, even with this supportive kind of build there, very strong in itself. Definitely a unit that we have perhaps not utilized as much apart from these very niche cash outs. Now he's identifying, okay, I want to use my items back on Belveth. We have the golden remover, which allows us to be juggling this Radiant TG quite a lot around, simply seeing that these items are going to be a little bit better on the Master Yi, therefore slowing them then there until we are committed. If we make that GA from our God offering in the next round, most likely going to be going to with that Yi itemization. Rageblade is not something I'm particularly excited about here, so going to be rerolling. We have quite a lot of forgers, so could be considering a possibility to either reforge one of these components if we wanted to force something. Going to consider this to make a Sterex gauge here. Now we have this Hodge and losing our gold effectively. Didn't want to roll too deep, wanted to still have the items, but just simply push levels. Now one pump away. Do we give up on this? No, we're going up obviously on the Yi potential. Now this is a Yi 3 might be an out if there's no other Yi players in the lobby. The anomaly has to be simply utilized as a tank item. Perhaps could have swapped the Visage there with the anomaly to get it onto the Gragas. Would be, I believe, a little bit stronger right there, even though we're giving up some of that damage and that DR on that front. Up against this MF board, and another revelation that has been seeing quite a bit of play is that the MF board with the Urgot secondary carry has started to seeing a little bit more play as a 4 brawler board, simply due to the little bit lack of a power into the Ornn and a little bit lack of a power in the Bastion trait. 4 brawler variation has seen quite a bit of play, and then if you are unable to get to a Maokai 3, you're also completely fine to be playing around Tompkins 2. You just simply have to be wary of Master Yi players into that lobby. But since the line has fallen quite a bit out of the favor, the players, it's simply more open in that form of a way. Therefore, I think you can maybe considering in your games when you are playing for that reroll. We are holding on to the 6 Master Yis here and not playing that Fiora, valuing obviously the 4 brawler to be stronger, and evaluating that Nova crit from the Akali to be a little bit more of a value. Simply we are on a win streak, and perhaps we are quite considerably 2 lives here. And thankfully we have not queued into the absolute Exodius and have not managed to find together a win streak for ourselves. Now slotting in that Rast, then dropping out of the 3 challenger, the breakpoint not being that strong in itself. Able to find also the Fiora too, so obviously that's going to be more valuable than a single King Red 1 here and that extra trait. and allows us to be playing still around the 4 brawler and providing the Rust, a little bit durability. Ideally for that Rust we would have 6 trays, but 5 trays is completely fine. Going against the Wigwag here for a fight for our top 4, able to mow him down. You can see immediately with that Radiant GG how much of a power the FUR is able to put out, and we have secured ourselves a top 4, and that's pretty much the best we could have possibly asked for ourselves. We can see that our win coin at this point is pretty much a 3-star forecast, but players are going to be very vigilant and going to most likely deny us. And our level 10 in, we do not have that much. They will probably just be that Kindred who will have to come back. But now up against the Lulu reroll, who thankfully does not have the frontline hit on their part. So hopefully we have enough damage to burst through them before this Lulu is able to fully ramp and take ourselves out. Nevertheless, the Milio there has the power, and they have a combat augment. This is a thing we are playing with an item cash out and pretty much a pseudo econ tempo and a econ augment that we did not gain that much use out of right away. Therefore, securing ourselves a 3rd here is a very good play and perhaps a little bit better result than I would have expected myself. But some players fumbled across in their fast 9 strategies. We could see Raiko Mastery there going 8th, and most likely there were more level 9 players who were simply just chasing the possibility for a win out there. So we were able to quite neatly capitalize onto that fact and secure ourselves a top 3 placement, and also noted that we opted to use that anomaly there onto the Master Yi, but against this Lulu board again here. Now the FUR simply does not seem to pack the punch, did not roll exactly the raid items we want, and now we are simply struggling since they have hit the Pantheon 3 and the mountain is going to provide them a lot of defensive stats. We did not have the necessary damage to break through their board. Otherwise, very well played game, recognizing the possibility to be playing around this of a Primordian board here with the Gragas, with the Jinx slotted in. Had to deviate away from it from the augments we found, as we wanted to definitely find that econ in the second option. But since it was a prismatic party, we were offered the wise spending and had to make the best out of it. Still, the key play that we identified, which I missed myself as well, was that this invested right here was the key. We needed to secure our spike going into the stage 4, and we were ideal at doing so. Rolled aggressively, were able to push levels due to the dice spending, hit our units, pick up the wins that we had against these weaker players who were all contesting pretty much in the same lines, and then secure ourselves a top 3 placement in a lobby that was fumbling over itself. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. As usual, all the cheat sheets and meta sheet are available in the link down below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.